Appreciate you joining us today. It is May 26th. Our reading today is going to come from the Psalms. We're going to look in Psalm 127. Our reading today is actually 1 Kings 4, Psalm 72, and Psalm 127. Both of the Psalms are Psalms that Solomon wrote. We're in the life of Solomon right now, but this is a short psalm, so I thought we'd just read it. Unless the Lord, notice a song of ascents of Solomon. Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows, for so he gives his beloved sleep. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. Happy is the man who has a quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but shall speak with their enemies in the gate. All right, notice this was a song of ascents. So Israel would sing the song as they ascended up, going up to Jerusalem, for the various feast days and things like that. On their journey, this was one of the psalms that they would sing. And that helps us, I think, to visualize. This is in the time of Solomon. So this is in the time of building the temple and building the wall and building all of those various buildings all over Jerusalem. And as they're going up, all of this building is taking place. And this is the song they're singing. Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. And that certainly the people have their role to play. But unless it is the Lord who builds the house, it is all in vain. And so we think about the building that happens, and that it has to be built by God. If it's not built by God, it's like the foolish man who builds his house on the sand. It's in vain. It's not going to last. It's not going to last at all. And even as we think about the building that was happening in Jerusalem, God specifically told Solomon, great, you built me this house, but you know that God does not dwell in temples made with hands. He doesn't, that temple did not contain God. And that, yes, the cloud filled the Holy of Holies, but come on now. Come on now. God's bigger than that. And the Lord told him what was going to happen, that if he turned away from the Lord, it was all going to come to nothing. So even that house, even Solomon's temple, is going to eventually be destroyed. But as we think about the building, unless the Lord builds it, it's all in vain. But then the passage also says, not just the building, but unless the Lord guards the city, the watchmen stay awake in vain. And I understand it's the same principle, but I wanted you to just think about that once it is built, it has to be guarded. It has to be protected. And the church is the same way. The church is built, but it also has to be protected. And unless the Lord builds it, it's in vain. And unless the Lord protects it, it is in vain. Jericho could build the highest walls imaginable. And how hard was it for the Lord to pull those walls down? Wasn't very hard. And it wasn't done by man's strength. The Lord took care of it real quickly. Real quickly. So I was just thinking about being built as they go up to Jerusalem and they're singing this song. Unless the Lord builds and unless the Lord guards the city, the watchmen stay awake in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, talking about their industriousness. But it's saying, fine, the building is happening, but it's vain for you to do all this, because if it's not from the Lord, it has to be from the Lord. For so he gives his beloved sleep. The sleep of a laboring man is sweet. But I want you to notice verse 3 and on. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. As they go up and this building was happening and the temple was being built, the city's effectively being built, and all of this building was happening. What was the most important building? The temple, all of his various houses, or was the most important thing being built the family? Is that the building that's the most important? You know, why lump verse 3 through verse 5 together with verse 1 and 2? It's because the same principles apply. And not everybody was going to have a hand in building the temple. Not everybody was going to have a hand in building Solomon's palace. But everyone could have a hand in building what verse 3 through verse 5 are speaking about. Everyone could have a hand. Husbands, wives, children. Everyone could have a hand at some point in those things, in families. And just as we think about what we can do for our families, children are a heritage from the Lord. And I want you to see the building that happens and the work that is done. We work, absolutely. But the work is only successful by God's grace and mercy. But as all of these things come together, that business there at the tail end of verse 5, and in this figure of like arrows in the hand of a warrior, happy is the man who has his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but shall speak with their enemies in the gate. The point being, they will overcome. They will overcome. That as the Lord builds the house, they will overcome. Because the Lord has built it, the Lord defends it. And so we sing this song. We sing this song as we come to the house of God, that we will overcome by God's grace and mercy. Families will be what they need to be. The house of God will be what it needs to be because of the Lord, because of what the Lord has done. So, appreciate you. Hope your day is going well. Hope you join us for our next brief look into God's Word.